Hi everyone, so 3rd July, another week, really interesting week this week. So as I mentioned last week, I'm moving to a different team. Well, I'm moving to two different teams. So this week I thought I'd focus on one of those new teams, and next week I'd focus on the other new team. But I'm going to be working as a 50% split on both teams, which will be interesting trying to manage the sort of that and how I can sort of contribute best while being 50% on one team and 50% on the other team. So we'll have to see how it goes. So this week I concentrated on one of the teams. Now, it just so happened that the Monday was an away day with one of those teams, which is ideal. So I went in on Monday, met the team, ran a retro, did a few other activities, got to know the team and got to know the people, and had a really fun day with them. So that was a fantastic start to the week. During the week, a lot of activities in terms of just getting to know the ceremonies that take place, getting to understand what's going on. There are things I recognise that need changing, but at the moment I'm still in this. Let's just take things in and understand what's going on and where things could potentially be improved, but without making any changes at the moment. I don't feel that I want to go in to a team and then just change it for change's sake, or because I like to do things in a certain way. So I'm just sitting back, meeting people, attending ceremonies, understanding how things are happening, and then just keeping a note of where I think improvements could be made, where I have questions about how things are done, reasons why things are done, because normally there's a historical reason why things are done in a certain way. So the whole week was it was a bit of a blur actually. It was just sort of meeting, like I said, just meeting people, ceremonies and so on. I've set some one-to-ones up for next week, so I'll meet people next week and just get to know people a bit more, looking at the roadmap, looking at the Jira board, looking at the sprints that they're working on at the moment. Went to a sprint planning session, did a few other sort of bits and pieces around the admin side of things, got a good grasp of what happens in stand-ups and so on. So they have a stand-up every day and they have other ceremonies. Now, what I find interesting with this team is that it's very much more open in terms of what to develop, as opposed to my previous team where we had a fairly sort of strict remit in terms of we've got to get these things developed, we've got to discontinue this software like I mentioned, so we've got to plan this in and so on. So there wasn't really scope for freedom around what to develop. Whereas the scope of this team is much larger and much more open. So that's interesting as well for me in terms of how to get the team on board with what we're doing, how to produce that sort of plan of action from the roadmap, how to satisfy our various stakeholders while producing work we think is going to be most effective in meeting our aim and the aim for this team. So it was interesting sort of moving between teams because of that. And also I had a chat with the new DM on my old team. It was really interesting seeing how they're dealing with the new team and the kind of things that are coming up. So it was good. It was good to chat with the other DM just in terms of, okay, so this is what's happening, maybe these are the reasons why, oh, you've tried to do this is what's happened, etc., etc. So it feels like at this point it's a very sort of good learning journey for me in terms of this movement of teams, development, and retrospecting about my previous team. So really interesting sort of time period for me in terms of reflection on what I'm doing at the moment, comparing it to what I've done previously, talking to the previous DM, talking to the new DM, etc., etc. Next week I meet with my other team, get to know them, do a similar thing with them, and then I try to sort of balance the two and try to have a time where I can sort of think, okay, I've got a certain amount of time in the day. What am I going to do? I need to obviously have the ceremonies for both teams. I need to have my own thinking time, and I need to have my various action time as well. So how can I combine that and give the best to both teams? So that in my mind is the biggest challenge. But first of all, I've got to get to know the teams before I can sort of really address that challenge. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. I'll see you next week.